Good morning, everyone. We're here for our normal fortnightly group client catch-up. And this week's topic is all about marketing fundamentals. We've covered quite a bit in the past around strategy, around getting some basic systems in place, managing your, doing the planning in your business and managing your time and so on. So I just want to cover off marketing for the next couple of meetings. And now, as I said in the intro before, I'm not a marketing expert. Obviously marketing is a broad area, and I don't specialize in marketing. But there are some fundamental concepts that I'm experienced enough to take you through and give you some just some grounding in marketing. And I might even organize some marketing specialists down the track to actually come and give us some more specific education around digital marketing, understanding how to develop your ideal client persona, those sorts of concepts. But I'll just take you through some fundamentals first, which I think are going to be important grounding for any other marketing education that you might be doing. And also, I think it's important when you're dealing with marketing people that you have some of these ideas in your mind so that you can have some sensible conversations with them as well. All right, so let's get into it. So as per normal, today we will cover off the education piece, and then we will have a client session to talk about those concepts, how to implement those in your business. We'll review your fortnight and look at what the priority projects are and how you're progressing with your plan as well. All right, so let's get into it. So as I said, we're talking about marketing today, marketing fundamentals. And firstly, I'd just like to recap on where marketing fits into my business building model, just so you've got a clear understanding of where how to think about it and where it fits into the model. So as you know, there are three main areas in every business: getting the work in the door, getting the work done productively and effectively, and then getting paid, getting organized, making sure the back office and the back end is working. So marketing obviously fits in here. It's all about getting the work in the door. And we've covered off some strategy concepts about where your business is positioned, understanding your competitors, understanding your business model, and making sure it makes sense. Marketing is all about generating leads. So it's all about turning the tap on, generating leads, inquiries into your business. And then from there, we go to sales, which I'll cover in future meetings. And sales is converting those leads into customers. All right. So as you can see, nothing can happen unless you've got the work coming in the door. And I know a lot of people rely on word of mouth and referrals, but I'm here to tell you that that's probably not going to be enough if you really want to grow a substantial business. So it is about understanding how to ramp up the marketing and how to ramp up the leads in your business. And I've already said this, it's where everything starts. It's critical to growing your business, especially if you want to grow a scalable and substantial business. And we can't just rely on referrals and word of mouth. Most of my clients have built their business that way, have built their business on referrals and word of mouth. And I think most people start off that way. But if you really want to ramp things up and make the business less reliant on you as well, you do need to look at other marketing channels. And we'll talk about those as we go through these next few weeks. All right, so this is a fairly basic concept. As most people know, marketing needs to be an investment and not an expense. There's no point just spending money and not getting a return, obviously. Anything we spend in our business, whether it's on marketing, whether it's new staff, whether it's equipment, whether it's consultants, you need to get a return on that. You need to make sure that it's all adding to your bottom line in some way. So how do we do that with marketing? So it's all about these two basic concepts here. It's about testing and measuring different things. So you might decide to give flyer drops a go. Might decide to give AdWords a go. You might decide to give networking a go. So there's all these different types of marketing that you could be doing. It's all about testing different things, giving things a go and being willing to give things a go, but making sure you measure the results, okay? And with some forms of marketing, it's much easier. Obviously, with digital marketing, you can track the click-through rates. You can even track how many phone calls come through if you've got specific phone numbers for those digital marketing campaigns. But I always encourage all of my clients to start asking people, when the phone rings and someone inquires, ask them, by the way, how did you hear about us? And then just keep a tally of that. So it's really understanding, whether AdWords is working for you, whether it's networking or referrals from other sources, or if it's ads in the paper. It's understanding where they're coming from and being able to measure those results. Because at the end of the day, marketing is maths. It's all about knowing the numbers around your marketing, what you're spending and what you're getting back. Okay, so, and the whole concept and ideal is you've got this magic doorway where you can throw $20 notes through and $100 notes come back. Okay, it's all about testing different marketing until you get to that stage where if you put money in, you'll definitely get money out and you can measure what the return is. Okay. So there are two sides to marketing. The first side is acquisition cost, which all relates back to knowing your numbers, where your marketing, what marketing's working, what sort of return you're getting. So therefore, you know how much it costs you to buy a customer. Okay, so that's the first concept. It's all about buying customers. And if you know that you can spend $20 to buy a customer and you get $100 back, then that's a good investment. All right, so the first side of marketing is understanding how much it costs you to buy a new customer. And the second concept is the lifetime value. How much is that customer worth to you over their lifetime? All right, so, and that's something I want you to have a think about now. And Ben, I know you've got a couple of businesses, and Lee, yours is one main business. But what I'd like you to do is have a think about how much is a customer worth to you over their lifetime. So the way you work that out is, so I know that Keith's not on this call, but he does kitchens. He knows that a new kitchen customer to him might be worth about 15 grand. Okay. He doesn't really charge for all of the trades. He just charges for his joinery work. So let's say it's $15,000. He's not necessarily going to get a lot of repeat business from that customer. He does get people coming back, but I think in general, you get one client and that's the 15 grand. You work out what sort of profit you're making on that customer, on that sale. So on his kitchen, excluding all of his, the labor costs which are already there, he's got to buy materials. So he might make, say, out of 15 grand kitchen, he might make 8 to 10 grand. All right. So he knows that is the value of a new customer. So Lee, you have repeat business customers. So Lee, you're in the IT game. You need to work out for every new customer, on average, how much do they spend with you each month and how long do they stay with you? Okay. Ben, you've got two different businesses. You've got the dog food business. Once again, very similar to Lee. What's the average spend per month for a new customer, a subscription customer? How much are they? How many years or how many months do they stay on? And therefore, what's their lifetime value? And with your business, Lee, it's quite different to Ben's in that you don't really have a lot of incremental costs associated with a new customer. You've got all these fixed costs associated with your staff. And sure, as the business grows, you need to bring on more staff. But generally speaking, a new customer, you can work out whether or not you want to allocate any costs to that. Ben, yours has definitely got costs because you've got all the dog food material, the raw material that you need to spend. So if a customer's paying $300 a month for your dog food and it's costing you $150 a month in materials, then really you're only getting $150 a month profit from that, incremental profit. And then you multiply that by the number of months that customer stays on. All right, so, and then if you want to become more complicated, you can actually work out, well, how many of those then refer other people, and then there's going to be some additional value there as well. Okay, but let's just stick to the basics. So I'd like you to have a think about that for your business and just type into your chat box what you think roughly the lifetime value of a customer is. So open up your chat box and have a think about not just the top line dollars that come in, but what sort of profit you make from each new customer. All right, so exclude all of your fixed costs like your rent and your staff costs. just think about the incremental cost, what we've called cost of sales in the past. Have a think about what that might be for your business roughly. Obviously work out roughly how long you think a client might stay on board, whether it's 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and be a little bit conservative with those numbers. So type in a number, and we might just have a quick chat about that. Or I can just unmute you guys. There you go. Ben's actually done a calculation here. He's so Ben's Ben, this is the dog food business, presumably, because you've got the other business, which is the high-rise window cleaning, which is obviously worth a lot more. So have a think about that business as well. So Ben's saying here, roughly 2.5 to 3 grand profit per year on a new customer. And on average, they'll probably stay 5 years. So therefore, it's $14,000. All right. So the whole reason to think about this, and I'll just go back one slide. If you know your lifetime value, then you can work out, based on that $14,000 customer, Ben, how much you're willing to spend to acquire that new customer. All right. Now, and I think you probably need to be a little bit conservative, because not every customer may stay for 5 years. But if you find, and I know your business is fairly young, so it's hard to tell as yet, but after you've been in business for a long time, you'll know that, okay, some people might stay 10 years, some people might stay a couple of years. Things happen to pets, people move, all sorts of things can happen outside of their decision not to use you anymore. There could be other things out of their control. But if you've got an average, if you think it is 5 years, which means it's $14,000, then you need to think, well, how much does it make sense for me to spend to buy that customer? Now, Lee's in the IT game. He's saying average customer is $500 per month. Not sure how much of that is profit. And Lee, you might, if you want to be really conservative, you'd probably, maybe allocate half that cost to staff costs, if you really want to allocate staff costs. But I think with those customers, Lee, $500 per month, that's probably across the board. There may be some do and charge customers, there may be managed services customers. If we just looked at managed services customers, that it might be higher than that. But let's say it is $500 a month, and let's say the profit you make on that is $250 after paying for staff costs. Then each new customer, if they stay with you for 3 years, I'll just get my calculator. 3 years might be conservative, but 36 months times $250, each new customer on those numbers is worth $9,000 profit to you. Okay. So then it's working out, well, how much does it cost? How much does it make sense to spend to buy a new customer? Okay. So Ben's got a comment here. Allocate 10% per customer. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that means, Ben. Do you want to just? Do you want to unmute yourself and just elaborate on that, if that's okay?
Yeah. So I just thought, like our business being online, and hopefully we build up to having about 500 customers per year ordering per week. If we allocated 10% of their of our profit per customer, that should give us a budget for our future marketing.
Oh, okay.
Covered by recurring work.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a novice when it comes to marketing, but
Yep.
that's probably around where our annual spend is now. We're spending about $20K a year on marketing based off our 150 that we already have. So,
and it's interesting when you say 10%, it's actually 10% of 14,000, which would be $1,400.
Oh, true, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that does sound high if you do 10%, but you're right. You're thinking the right way, trying to work out, well, how much is it? Does it make sense to spend? The other thing to keep in mind is that $14,000, Ben, is over 5 years. You need to work out how quickly you want to get a return as well. Okay, so if you spend, so let's talk in terms of years. Let's say it is, you know, $3,000 a year.
Yeah.
You might decide that you know, you want to get a 10% or 10 times return in that first year, and then the rest is cream. You know, so you might say, okay, well, I'm only willing to spend $300 to acquire a customer. But you could spend up to, you know, $3,000.
Yeah. How hard do you want to go?
And then get that payback in the first year, and then just it's all cream after that.
Yeah.
But I think it's, you know, this is just very high level thinking. You know, for your sort of customer, it doesn't make sense to spend, you know, $3,000 to acquire a new customer, because if
you don't get that
if you do the maths on how many customers, you know, how much it ends up being, it'll be a lot.
I guess it depends on the type of marketing you want to do as well. If you're doing like expeditions, like Dog Lover Show, like that might cost us $8,000 straight up front. Or, you know, you have your Facebook and Instagram running, it's a lower rate, but
yeah,
I don't know. There's just
but that's right. You need to work out, okay, well, if you do exhibit at a show, yeah, how much is that going to cost? How much business do you need to get from that? And not just new customer revenue, but the profit that you make on those customers.
Yeah.
And then you need to decide, okay, well, how likely is that? Are we still willing to go ahead because it's branding? Just be careful with branding. You know, it's branding works for the big boys. And I do believe in getting your branding, like your logo right and your colors and that design right. You know, I think that's worthwhile. But in terms of just spending money on the hope that, okay, well, people know about you and you're not really getting a return that you can measure, that's yeah, it's risky strategy. But the other type of customer for you, Ben, is the breeders, and it's trying to work out whether or not those breeders are potentially higher value, and what is the return that you get from a new breeder customer.
Yeah, I guess you just got to try and work it. If you can work a deal for them to endorse our products to every puppy they breed and sell, then definitely, you know, the money's there. But if you're just supplying bulk items at a discounted rate to just the breeder and they're not pulling their weight, then, you know, you're running at a loss. But yeah, you just got to get those.
The breeders make sense if you've got those referrals coming from the breeders.
Yeah, definitely.
And then that all adds to the, you know, in these concepts, that adds to the lifetime value of that breeder.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, good stuff. And then the last thing I wanted to cover off today is really the need to look at multiple channels and sources of leads. It can be risky to just focus on and rely on one. And it's a bit like this bridge. You know, if you've only got you know, a couple of pylons there supporting the bridge, or if one of those pylons just crumbles away, then that bridge is like your business. You know, if you have one marketing source or a couple and then one stops working for whatever reason, you know, it could be a change in Facebook's algorithms, or it could be you know, all sorts of things that could happen. Then if you're just relying on a few or only a couple of different marketing strategies, then your business is really at the whim of, you know, those sorts of things happening. So an example, I suppose, is Keith's business. You know, I know Keith in the past, the kitchen business has had ups and downs in terms of lead gen. And, you know, now that he's got a constant flow of leads, everything else works. You know, he can keep his team busy, he can keep his equipment busy, you know, he's got good dollars coming in, got good dollars on the bottom line. But the risk is if that dries up, then obviously everything else dries up, because he needs that constant new work coming through. Whereas Lee, I know you've had some customers fall away, but at least you've got a lot of repeat business and you've got a little bit more time to, you know, to build that back up. But Keith's business, you need that constant flow of, you know, new work. So it depends on your business, how sensitive you are to, you know, to marketing and lead flow drying up. So you really need to look at multiple channels and make sure you can test which ones are working and refine that and have that in place for your business. All right, so that's really all I wanted to cover off today. So any any general discussions around those concepts? So just as a reminder, we talked about obviously making marketing an investment, not an expense, tracking where your leads come from, testing different marketing, understanding what's working, using the concept of acquisition cost to refine how much you're willing to spend. And the whole idea, and I didn't cover this off when I talked about acquisition cost and lifetime value, the whole idea is to reduce your acquisition cost over time by testing marketing and refining that and getting your message, improving your message. So reducing your acquisition cost and increasing your lifetime value over time. So the way you increase your lifetime value is by getting better retention, getting referrals from customers, maybe increasing price or offering high value services over time. Adding on additional services to your existing customers. Lee, we've talked about that. There's a lot of other technology products, backup systems, virus protection, all of those sorts of things that people need. So it's about introducing those and educating them about those. So there are ways to increase your customer lifetime value over time. All right. So any comments or questions about what I've covered, guys?
So I suppose my only comment would be just, advice for, as Neil, we've been through is what works for some people, for some industries or some businesses for marketing. Marketing doesn't necessarily mean it'll work for you. We've been through, we put a lot of money into Facebook advertising because everyone said that was the way to go, and that brought us to nothing, and various other things. So I guess it's a case of, like you said, is testing different marketing strategies, because I think different ones might work for different business styles. Obviously, it's very different being a retail online shop or something like that as opposed to professional services and things like that. So definitely you need to try and work out what style of advertising will work for your type of business, because one doesn't work for them all.
Yeah, and I think I have to commend you, Lee, that you are willing to continue to test, and some of that testing has been expensive, and it hasn't provided the return that we were hoping. But at least we know, if you think about the longer term, your business is going to be here for 10, 20 years into the future. Spending a few dollars on marketing for a few months here and there and testing different things is still worthwhile in the bigger picture, in the long game. But as long as a lot of people just spend money on marketing and they don't know if it's working or not. They're not tracking whether they're getting the leads coming in. They think, especially back in the Yellow Pages days and that whole transition from Yellow Pages through to online marketing and more Google-based searches, people just continue to spend money without really knowing whether or not they were getting that return. Newspapers are probably very similar. So it is about continuing to track and understand what return you're getting from your marketing, but keep testing different things. Welcome, Nick. You're on mute, Nick. We've just been through some marketing concepts, and I think you probably covered them in the past in previous education. So you'll have to go back and have a look at the recording. Ben, any other comments from you before we wrap up the discussion and talk more about what's happening in your business?
Yeah, we're just trying to get our CRM up and running. I think that's going to help us out with our marketing and tracking our leads, because we got social media, Google AdWords, we've got our dog lover show coming up. So if we can just implement coupons and start to see where our spending's going, and ultimately work on that acquisition cost and the lifetime value, I think that's important. And then now we know our bottom line, so we can compare it to that and really start to ramp up on knowing our numbers. Yeah, and it's just another example of the importance of knowing your numbers. Yeah, your P&L, looking at that every month. I know we looked at that recently. Yeah. Tracking these sorts of KPIs. We've discussed KPIs in one of our other meetings, and understanding what makes the business tick and what numbers and what levers you need to pull to improve profitability. And this is another example of knowing your numbers around your marketing. Knowing
what sort of return you're getting from each of your marketing, your marketing spend, understanding things like your lifetime value, how much it makes sense to spend to buy a customer. So it's understanding those numbers, and you can understand it in theory. It's once you start calculating it and working out, what it means for you, then it probably helps to have discussions. And I'm obviously always here to have a discussion about those numbers to work out what makes sense for your business, because every business is a little bit different.
And I guess once you do know your numbers, you're not so afraid to spend that money on marketing. Because in the past, you might say, oh, let's spend $1,000 on this campaign, and it's literally like taking a shot in the dark. But when you know that those returns are there, you're more inclined to spend a little bit more if you can track and see where those results are coming from.
Yeah. So in future sessions, I'll talk more about running campaigns and what we can do to help give us the best chance, I suppose, of getting a return. And I might even get a marketing expert in to help us with that discussion as well. All right, guys, I might just wrap up the that education piece and discussion there. I'll just stop the recording.